Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we took on the Los Angeles Kings in the second round of the playoffs, and we actually had a way easier time than we anticipated, and by easy, I mean we completely dominated them. As you can see, 3 straight shutouts in that round, 3-0, 3-0, and 1-0 in overtime, and then we won the last game 3-2 in overtime as well. But what's kind of crazy is also in that series is we did lose Vasilevsky due to injury, but we still were able to pick up some very nice wins against that LA Kings team and get ourselves into this conference finals, which honestly, this conference finals is probably one of the most anticipated matchups. Not only is it the Battle of Alberta, well, both these teams have been absolutely on fire in the last bit of the season. As you can see, to end off the regular season, the Flames were 7-1-2. We were 9-0-1. And so far in the playoffs, the Flames have not lost a playoff game. They're 8-0. Meanwhile, we've only lost 1 game in regulation and 1 game in overtime. So basically, over the last 20 games for us, we are 17-1-2. Meanwhile, for them, over their last 18 games, they are 15-1-2. So one of these teams obviously going to have to lose some games, but it's definitely going to be an interesting series. They're more of an offensive team. We're more of a defensive team, as you can see with this matchup comparison as well. So obviously, if we play to our strength, which is defense, we could definitely win games. But if we're giving up too many goals, obviously, it's going to be tough for us to win. Now, we are going to be missing Vasilevsky for the beginning of the series as well. So it should be interesting to see if our team can continue playing good defensively without him. So far, they've done well without him, but obviously, this Flames team is good offensively. So should be a little bit of a tough series for somebody like Ruskovich in this conference finals, because like I said, he's been really good too so far. Like, he's just been as good as Vasilevsky. Maybe not as good, I would say, maybe, but a little bit better in terms of like regular season and playoffs combined. But you can see 3-0 in 4 playoff games. Obviously, there was one where he played a little bit of it, and I think he got pulled or something like that. But you can see a .961 save percentage, so he's done just as good pretty much as Vasilevsky. But obviously Vasilevsky's at 7 overall points better, so it would be nice to have Vasi back. But it seems like no matter what goalie we put in net, our team is still playing great defensively. So hopefully that continues into this round, and maybe hopefully we could get some more offense going in our lineup, just because we haven't been scoring a crazy ton of goals. And against the Flames team that's very good offensively, that might be something we need to do if we want to beat them and get to the Stanley Cup Finals. But anyways, before we get into this matchup with the Calgary Flames and go through their lines and all that type of thing, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will take a look at their lineup, make sure we're set up to go, and we will get into this conference finals matchup. So the first and only comment is from Samurai Taku, who says, Vasi suffering a back injury is weirdly reminiscent of present day, though obviously his condition came in the later stages of his career. We have a potential real Cup final scenario if this were 2004. And yeah, the stuff with Vasi's kind of interesting how it's actually accurate kind of to his injuries that he had in the future. But the Stanley Cup Finals that is definitely something that's not very accurate for this time period. If this was 2004, though, like Sarantak was saying, it would be accurate. But you could see if the Calgary Flames do move on and knock us out, they could have a chance to play Tampa or Pittsburgh. So it makes sense from an Eastern Conference standpoint on how far these teams are going. But for the Western Conference, it's obviously a little bit unrealistic. But I think whoever ends up winning this conference finals matchup in the West is probably due to get destroyed in the finals by either Pittsburgh or Tampa. So should be interesting regardless. If we do get to a finals, like I said, it's good experience for our team to get to that finals. But so far, we've been exceeding a lot of expectations. So I don't really care too much if we get knocked out here, but it would be nice to see if this team could already get to a Cup Finals this early into a lot of these guys' careers, and see if we could build upon that. So anyways, let me show you guys what the Flames are looking like again, just in case you forgot, and then we'll make sure our lines are set up and ready to go. But this is what Calgary's looking like. They've brought in a lot of new faces over the beginning of these last few years. So you can see Daniel Sedin is a Calgary Flame. He's 35 years old at this point. We knocked out his brother in the first round, so he's still been very good with Calgary, just as good as he was with Vancouver pretty much, but on a little bit of decline, but he is still up there in points on the Flames. They also have Backlund still, who's jumped up to a 90 overall, so that must be just because he's playing next to Sedin, and also this guy named Ross Barbara. Second line is very strong with Kuznetsov, Stajan, and Bork. Then this third line is one of the best third lines I think I've seen as well. Palat, Hayes, Yarncroke, and a fourth line that's also a little bit more gritty with Wilson, Kodalik, and Torres. So offensively, this team looks fantastic on paper. And then from a defensive standpoint, they're also pretty good. Like, they don't have a superstar defenseman, but Alexander Edler is really solid, and then everybody else is pretty much just a top four defenseman, but it's still a very good core. And then from a goaltending perspective, they do have the goaltender in Jonas Hiller as well. So definitely a strong team over there in Calgary, and if we want to beat them, we need to play to our strength, like I said, which is defense. So hopefully we play good defensively, and that gives us chances to win. But one of these teams, like I said, is going to have their hot streak ended for sure, because both of us have been completely dominant. Like I said, the Flames haven't lost a playoff game up to this point, which is also surprising. So I honestly don't know who's going to win the series, if it's going to be one of those series that goes 7 games, or if it's going to be a sweep for one team. But it should be interesting to see who ends up getting to that Cup Finals. So I think our lines are pretty good to go. They've been simulating well enough defensively. Offensively, like I said, we could be a little bit better, but there's not really much adjustments I can make at this point. So we'll probably just keep it like this. And hopefully Ruskovich could play good while we wait for Vasilevsky, because I don't think I want to give Tuomainen an opportunity yet. He has been playing in the AHL for the last 4 years, has been getting better in terms of his stats, but obviously his career playoff numbers in the AHL haven't been super good up to this point, so it would be nice to not give him opportunity yet, but he could be the backup next season if we don't bring back Ruskovich. But right now I'm really liking the way Ruskovich has been, so I might honestly hold on to Ruskovich over Tuomainen when it comes to that point. But I think we're ready to get into this matchup and see if we can knock out the Flames. Obviously, like I said, one of these teams is going to have their winning streak snapped. We haven't lost since Game 2 against the Canucks, because we lost the first 2 games of this playoff run, and since then we've won 8 straight. So both teams are basically on an 8-game winning streak at this point in time. So somebody's got to lose. Hopefully it's not us, but if it is us, like I said, not a huge issue, because these young guys are getting some good experience, and we've already done way better than we anticipated. Like, I thought we were going to lose to that Kings team, but we absolutely dominated them defensively. So let's see what happens. We have home ice advantage. See if we could use it to our advantage, and if we can maybe get to a Cup Finals already in 2016. So here we go. Game number 1 on home ice. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Let's play some good defense, boys. First period. 3-0 Flames. Well, that's exactly what I said I did not want to see. Because if we play to our strength, which is defense, we're going to win games. But we just got completely blown up in that first period, and I could see why the Flames were an 8-0 team going into this round, and why they've been 15-1-2 in their last 18. They outshot us 18-1 in the first period. Is that the most dominant first period you've ever seen? Probably. That's definitely not on Ruskovich, though. That's definitely on the offense for not generating any chances, and also on the defense for giving up so many chances. But Torres made it 1-0, then Bork scored, and then he scored again. He had 1 power play goal, 1 regulation goal, but a regular strength goal, I mean to say. But yeah, that's one of the worst first periods I've ever seen from this team, probably in this entire playoffs, or maybe this entire series altogether. But we are still in this game. If we could get back in the second period, obviously there's a chance to maybe get 1 or 2 goals in the second, but we need to start limiting their chances, and we need to start getting more pucks to the net. Can we find a way to get back into this game, or is this game already lost at this point? Second period. 3-1. Okay, we do pull within 2, which is good, and it's Marcoux. It's not a short-handed goal, but shots are 27-11, so they're still badly outplaying us. They actually outshot us still around, I think, in that period, or maybe we outshot them 10-9 or something like that. But we are within a couple goals, so we're still in this game, but we're definitely still getting outplayed for the most part. So it's been a good game, I guess, still goaltending-wise from Ruskovich, aside from that first period, but he did face 18 shots, so we can't really blame him too much. Can we find a way to maybe crawl back into this game if we could get an early one in the third period underway? If we could get an early goal, we definitely have a chance, but they get a goal right away. It's a power play goal from Alex Edler, so it looks like this game's pretty much lost at this point, which we knew we were going to eventually lose a game like this, but are we going to have a response? That's the main question, because Obviously, we could have a bad first game, but we could honestly play really good in the second game and all that. 2-0 Mines apparently now in net, as Rene Bourque gets the hat trick and Carlo Koliakovo also scores. We lose 6-1 in game one, getting outshot 46-15. So that's exactly kind of more what I was expecting from the Kings against us, but the Calgary Flames are 9-0 in this playoff run. I don't know if they're going to have a perfect run up to the cup, but they are probably going to get slapped in the finals if they do beat us, my guess. So that's a terrible first game in terms of goals against and also basically generating chances. We only had 15 shots in that game. And in that third period, we got outshot 19-4. So I almost feel like I want to make adjustments already, but I honestly don't know if it's just a one-off game because maybe we could respond next game and still tie the series up. Like, I know it's a bad game, but one game doesn't dictate a series usually. So Marku anyways from Smith and Yakupov is our only goal. So that was our third line scoring that only goal. But yeah, they completely torched us, especially Rene Bourque with his hat trick. So any really badly plus-minus players? Yes. And that would be the second line that got mostly destroyed, and in also Russell Himlinka. So maybe we want to readjust the top six a little bit. We won't do it yet, but we might do it for game 3 if we get torched again. And yeah, both goalies did not play the best, but obviously I'd say Ruskovich was okay because he faced a shit ton of shots. 2-0 Miney came in and allowed 2 goals on 10 shots, so he's still not pretty much NHL ready at this point. But yeah, this is definitely where we're missing Vasilevsky. If Vasilevsky was in it, I don't think he'd have a game like that. But Bourque first star, Kuznetsov second star, Stajan the third star. So I think that's all their second line, if I'm not mistaken. So our second line got destroyed by their second line. We need to be better in that area. Hopefully Vasi's back soon. I think he's back on the 19th. Never mind. He will be back, but I don't think he'll be fully healthy. So it's a bit risky to put him in already, because goalies get injured a lot easier, I feel like, if you put them back in net. But we will probably put him as maybe the starter, or maybe we'll put him as the backup just so we don't lose him for a long extended period of time. So we will probably still start Ruskovich next game, just because I want Vasi to kind of get the full health first. I don't want to risk him getting injured again, so we will probably do that. Let's go back on this. And let's just make sure he's not starting because, like I said, I don't want him to go down again. I know some people say, oh, players play with injuries in the playoffs all the time. Well, this is a different situation because I'm pretty sure most of the time when you play a goalie that's injured, they always seem to get injured right away again. And I don't want to chance it with Vasilevsky. So we'll put Ruskovich back in net. He's been good for the most part this postseason. Last game, like I said, wasn't really fully on him. We got destroyed in that first period on shots on goal. So I think that's the only thing we're going to do is just have Vasi sitting on the bench for the time being. He could come in if Ruskovich gets destroyed in the first period again. But for the time being, I would prefer Vasi getting fully healthy if possible. Aside from that, though, I wasn't already going to make any line adjustments, but I think I'm already going to readjust that second line and then move to Foley up with Cameron again. Nyquist could play with McKinnon and Eberle, so that's the only adjustment I'm really going to make, I think. Actually, that one defensive pairing got lit up too. I think it was a defensive pairing. It was Hlinka, and who was the other one? Yeah, it was Hlinka and Russell. I don't really know if I could split them up, though. I may be able to. Maybe let's put Zherdev on the top pairing and give Hlinka a chance to play with Falk. Just a small little adjustment to the defense, just to see if that ends up helping things out defensively or not. So, for the most part, the team's the exact same, just a couple small changes. We'll see if that's enough to tie the series up, because as long as we take one of our 2 home games, we could definitely still win this series. So not too worried after that first game, but definitely I could see why the Flames are a very dominant team at this point in time. So let's get to game number 2 and see if we could tie the series up headed to Calgary. At least we don't have to travel very far for our next game. But first period, game number 2. And it's 1-0 Flames again. And we're being outshot 16-6, so a lot of shots against in that first period, but it's a little bit different than last game because we're only down by a goal, so we don't need to worry too much at this point, but Ruskovich definitely has been having to be called upon a lot of times so far here early on. That goal was actually in the first minute of the play too, so for the rest of that period, he was really good. Rafi Torres with the goal again, so former Oilers scoring in back-to-back games. Can we find a way to tie this game up in the second? second period. 1-1. Okay, we do tie it up. That's good to see because the shots are 30-16. So, yeah, we're definitely facing a lot of shots in these early games, which is not necessarily a recipe to win games. But when our goalies are as good as our goalies are, maybe it is. Shots are literally 30-16. It's a 1-1 game because of Jordan Eberle. So that second line gets that goal. Can we find a way to get our first lead of the night and first lead of the series? Third period underway. Come on, boys. Let's get that next one. Don't really care who it is, but somebody, let's get that next one. Power play for us. We do not score on it. And now we get one, and it's Nail Yakupov. He probably slid around on his knees after that goal, and then Toffoli scores to make it 3-1. So we actually might be able to tie the series up potentially as Sedin pulls the Flames within one. Come on, boys. Just lock it down. Don't worry about that one. Oh, of course, after I talked about maybe tying the series up, they get 2 unanswered goals. It looked like we were going to tie the series up, but Carlo Koliakovo scores for his second goal of the series. Shots are 41-25 in favor of the Flames. I had to speak too soon once Toffoli scored, huh? Because I literally thought we were going to be able to tie the series up, and then Sedin had other plans. Koliakovo ties it up. But Nail Yakupov probably definitely slid around on his knees after that goal. You just know that guy would do that. But anyways, like I said, shots are heavily in their favor. This is definitely not on Ruskovic right now. It's on our defense for giving up too much shots, I feel like, at this point. But it's been a good offensive game. So can we find a way to get that next one in Titus series up headed to Calgary? Or are we going to fall down 0-2 headed to Calgary? Overtime underway. Who wants to be the hero? Don't care who it is on a roster, but somebody please, and they score, unfortunately. So we blew a 3-1 lead, and of course it's the guy who had a hat-trick last game. Rene Bourque scores on the power play. Their power play has been a threat here early on, and we lose 4-3 in Game 2, which means the Flames are now 10-0 this postseason. That's not good. Like I said, I'm not going to put the goaltender on blast in this game. We had a 3-1 lead, but I think our defense just fell apart a little bit in that one. So Eberle from Russell, Yakupov from Marcoux and Petrie, and then we had Toffoli from McKinnon and Cameron, but 3 unanswered goals, not looking too good. We need to be more disciplined, and I probably need to address the penalty kill a little bit, because I think it's allowed like 3 power play goals to start the series. But yeah, Ruskovic is doing as best as he can. We will definitely put Vasi in next game if Vasi's fully healthy, but aside from that, we need to maybe make some adjustments to the penalty kill. But that's not necessarily the best way to start a round, of course, being down 0-2. But we have come back against the Canucks down 0-2 as well. So who knows? Maybe the team will find a way to respond in Calgary. But them being 10-0 at this point is absolutely insane. Like, they're probably going to cruise to the Cup Finals and then get swept, it seems like, at this point. But let's make some line adjustments here. Is Vasi fully healthy yet? He is not. Once again, I know it's a bad idea, but I don't think he'll stay healthy if I put him in. Yeah, I don't think he'll stay healthy if I put him in. So we'll put Ruskovic in that again. I know some people are going to be probably mad about that decision, but I just feel like he's going to get re-injured. Just because, like, I've seen goalies get re-injured way too much in franchise mode. So aside from that, though, let's go to our penalty kill lines and see what we could do here. We're going to keep Marcoux and Laddie together. Jenner and Toffoli. What about the third unit? Cameron and McKinnon. Let's take Nathan McKinnon off the penalty kill and give it to somebody maybe a bit more defensive or better defensively, if there's anybody on this team. Who is not on the penalty kill that probably should be? Fada. Yeah, Fada should definitely be on the penalty kill. So we'll take McKinnon off, and we will put Fada on the PK, because Fada is a two-way forward, and we'll see if that helps things out a little bit with that unit. But aside from that, no real other adjustments, just trying to find a way to get Vasilevsky back to full health, so maybe he can pull off a reverse sweep for us. Like I said, I don't really want to be playing him because I feel like he could get re-injured. Obviously, he could win us a game too, but he could also get injured and be out for the rest of the playoffs. So it's definitely a tough decision to make, but I think it's better for him to just stay on the bench for the time being and be fully healthy, hopefully for Game 4. If he's not fully healthy, it's the 19th. So he might not be fully healthy this entire series up until Game 5, potentially, if there's a Game 5. But obviously, we got to find a way to win 2 games in Calgary, which is going to be pretty damn tough, considering they have not lost a game at this point. Tampa and Pittsburgh are currently tied at 1. All right. Like I said, whoever wins in that Eastern Conference, I think, has a ticket to that cup anyways. But let's see if we could hand the Flames their first playoff loss, because right now, like I said, they are definitely a very strong team. And we've had our first 2 regulation losses in quite some time as well. So they are definitely due for a loss at some point in time, I would assume. But here we go. First period, game 3. Can we find a way to start getting back into the series? And the answer is not just yet. Shots are 14-11, so that's probably the closest first period we've had. No goals so far as well, so Ruskovich has been still really good to me, at least in this conference finals. I know he's given up goals, but I think he's also been pretty much a guy that's kept us in games, but our team just can't find ways to score goals at the right time or defend and not give up as much shots as they have. But anyways, they are probably on pace for another 40-shot game. Hopefully we can find a way to limit chances eventually, but can we find a way to get that lead in the second period? Second period. 1-0 us. Good stuff. Zhurdev scores. I don't know if that's his first career playoff goal. I feel like he scored earlier in this playoff run, but shots are 30-19 in favor of the Flames. Like, definitely we're playing with a little bit of an edge where we basically allow the other team to outshoot us, but we still find ways to score goals occasionally. Sometimes it's just not enough, but that's not too bad of a start. Really good start for Ruskovich. Like I said, he has been good so far. We just need to keep playing him until Vasi's ready to go, and then maybe Vasi could get us back in the series. But can we find a way to lock out the Flames in this third period? Let's just play better defensively and not give up 15 shots in this third period, please. Third period underway. Can we get an insurance marker? Oh my goodness, Daniel Sedin scores to tie the game up. They always seem to have an answer at some point. Power play does not score. That's not good. Still a 1-1 game though. Come on, boys. Come on. We're out shooting them, I think, in this third period potentially. Final few minutes. And we are going to overtime once again. So if we would have found a way to win last game because we had a 3-1 lead, we could have had a chance to take the series lead here. So I feel like we've still been playing okay, but definitely just a little bit inconsistent in terms of certain areas. But shots are 39-32 in favor of the Flames. It's a 1-1 game. Can Ruskovich find a way to hold them off? And can our team find a way to get that OT winner and pull us within one of tying the series up potentially? Overtime underway. Who wants to be the hero this time? Who wants to be the hero this time? I don't care who it is on our roster. Somebody score a power play for us. We do not score on it. That's unfortunate, but more chances at least. And now we get it. Let's go. On the 38th shot on goal. Of course, it's probably my favorite player on this team right now. It is Mr. Chase Cameron. Let's go. Cameron with the game-winning goal. Final shots 46-38 in favor of the Flames. They only get 1 goal for, though. So a big game from Ruskovich. And a big game from our defense. Our offense didn't really score a ton, obviously, but we generated enough chances in that game where it gave us a chance to win that one. So, Zhurdev from Eberle and Nyquist, that was his second. And then we had Cameron from Toffoli and Jankumovs as that game-winning goal. So, that's a big win on the road. We hand the Flames their first loss of the postseason, and we're back in the series. So, Ruskovich first star, Hiller second star, Cameron the third star. But is this the home ice trend right now? Is this the home ice trend, or is it going to be the trend where maybe we win 4 straight games, potentially? I honestly don't know. And Vasilevsky is fully healed, and he will be the starting goalie for game number 4, which is kind of a weird one because I've said Ruskovich has been good so far, but he will not be starting the next game, unfortunately, just because Vasi's ready to go. But Ruskovich has held down his fort really nicely. He's definitely a goalie I would like to bring back probably next season as that backup again. But now that Vasi's back, is he 100%? Like, does he know that he's going to be back in a playoff game? Does he know that he could actually win a playoff game against this Flames team? And is our team aware that we could, with him in net, we've been a very good team. But we've been a very good team also with Ruskovich in net for the most part. So, oh boy. You got this, Vasi. You've been really good so far. You've only lost 1 game in regulation. Just find a way to tie the series up for me, and then we'll see what happens from there on out. But I think we got to keep the team the same the rest of it. So, can Vasilevsky return to the lineup and tie the series up at 2 apiece? Like I said, it's been a bit of a back and forth series in a way. It could be the home ice trend where it doesn't, the home team doesn't win till game 7, which means we would win in 7 if that's the case. So we'll see what ends up happening. But can we find a way to win 2 games in Calgary and make this a best of 3 going forward? Game 4 on the road. Let's get her done. Let's get her done. And hopefully Vasi's ready to go for this game. First period, game 4. Scoreless. I mean, I'll take that. That's a good first period from Vasi, especially with him missing the last number of games. Shots are 14-12 in favor of us, so we're actually out shooting them for a change, which doesn't happen very often, but it's an even game just like last game. So if you don't give up goals early, maybe that gives us a better chance to win games in the later stages. But like I said, even first period. Can we have a game like last game where we find a way to score first? Second period. 1-0 us, just like last game. Shots are in our favor as well as Metropolitan. I feel like that could be his first career playoff goal. Not too sure. But the 18-year-old comes through with a big goal. He might be 19 by this point. I'm not too sure when his birthday is. But shots are 28-21 in favor of us. It's a 1-0 game. Can we find a way to close out the Flames in the third period and make this a best of 3 going forward? Third period underway. Let's go, boys. Let's get some insurance. Power play for us, and they get a shorthanded goal. That's unfortunate for Vasi to give up a shorthanded goal at this point. Oh boy, power play for us again. Don't give up another shorty, please. Thank you. And they get a goal late. Damn it, man. This is not on Vasi either. As our offense just gave up a shorthanded goal at the worst time possible, but we tie it up. Justin Falk. Oh yeah, I was not expecting that. I thought we were literally going to lose when I saw it was like 40 seconds left. Justin Falk has sent this game to overtime for the 3rd consecutive game. We will be going to overtime. I expected the series to be somewhat tight, and so far, except for game 1, it has been tight. Shots are 39-29 in favor of us. I feel like we got to watch this game, just because if we win this game, we tie the series up. We lose this game, we go down 3-1. So, just for fun and add some extra time into this episode, let's jump into this and see if we could find a way to tie the series up. Just because watching AI games are pretty fun at times. So I guess we'll have to use these white jerseys. I don't know if we've seen much gameplay of this team so far, but we'll go with these jerseys. We'll give Calgary their jerseys from 2015-16 around, which I guess will still be these jerseys, which are okay, but we'll go with them anyways. And we will watch this one and see if we could find a way. Just find a way to... Actually, wait a second. Let me go back for a sec, because I actually need to go to our 2016-17s, because I think they're in this here. Yeah, they're in here. Perfect. Just to make it a bit more accurate to the time period. We could give them their alternate from 15-16 too. You know what? Let's give them their alternate. I actually do like this alternate that the Flames had at this point, but obviously we're not rooting for them. But can we find a way to tie the series up at 2? Headed back home. This could be a long overtime, could be a short overtime. We've seen overtimes where we've jumped in and literally a goal happens in the first minute. But it could also be one of those overtimes. Oh man, I forgot to change sides. I don't want to accidentally not win the face-off. Oops. I'm not trying to play this game, especially on broadcast. But yeah, I don't even usually play this game against AI. Except for if I ever play Be a Pro again. But select sides. Let's go with that. Boom. And that's good. I meant to do that before we started this. But here we go. Can Cameron win the face-off against, I don't know who their top center is again. I can't remember. Cameron wins it. Zherdev finds Russell. Russell throws it over. Here is Toffoli. Toffoli drops to Zherdev over to Cameron. Nice pressure early on. Russell, a chance turned away by Hiller. And there's a delayed penalty coming up against the Flames already. Damn. Toffoli out front. Cameron, he scores! That's why you jump in. And that was a quick-ass goal. Back-to-back overtime game-winning goals for Cameron. Let's go. After a late goal tying it up by Justin Falk sent us to overtime. It's going to be a best of 3 going forward. That's why you jump in sometimes, just for these crazy moments. And we will not let this down if that helps us somehow win a Stanley Cup here in this first year. But I still think we would lose in the finals regardless. But what a winner. Nice little cycle going. Hiller gets out of position and a nice shot top cheese by Cameron. And yeah, Cameron's definitely building up that legacy. He's building up that legacy early into his playoff career. What a shot. Beautiful. He's literally got 4 goals only in this playoff run, I think, and literally 2 of them have been overtime winners in the series in this conference finals. So shout out to Cameron. He's more of a playmaker, but he does score big goals, I guess, at this point. Like, look at that nice pass. Bang. Hiller's not in good position. Tries to make the flashy glove save. But that's a big goal to send us to the next game at a square series. We outshot them 41-29 in that game, too. Vasi was fantastic in his return to 27 saves, and Cameron a goal and assist and 3 hits. Let's go, Cameron. Let's friggin' go. 6 shots on goal that game for him. But in terms of the goals, yeah, it was Metropol's first career playoff goal from Petrie and Yakupov. Falk tied it up in the final minute from Cameron, and then Cameron ends it 51 seconds in from Toffoli and Jakumovs, which I think was the same thing as last game, if I'm not mistaken. So what a crazy turn of events. We lost our first 2 games, but now we've won in the last 2 games, and now it becomes a best of 3. We are going to keep the team the exact same because our team's been doing well. Obviously, those are overtime wins, so we could have got swept at this point, but we haven't is the thing. We could also have been up 3-1 at this point, too, if we would have won game number 2 and not blown that 3-1 lead. So let's keep the team the same, and let's see if we can win our first home game, or is it still going to be the home ice trend for the rest of this round. Game number 4, or 5, what am I ever saying? Wait, is it 5? Yes, it's game 5. What am I saying, man? Game 5, can we find a way to take our first series lead? First period. 1-0 Flames. I feel like this could be a home ice trend right now. Not necessarily a strong start for Vasilevsky. He only faces 6 shots and allows 1, but LaBarbera is a really good player, so it kind of makes sense. We're out shooting them, though, which is a good sign that our team is getting more chances than them the last few games, but obviously these games have been airtight, so can we find a way to strike back in the second and maybe give ourselves a chance, at least, in the third? Second period. 3-2 Flames. I mean, we do get 2 goals back. I guess it's not that bad of a period, but LaBarbera made it 2-0. Jenner made it a 2-1 game. Stajan made it 3-1. And a late goal again from Justin Falk, so I guess he has a thing for scoring late goals. Shots are 19-18 in favor of us. It's a 3-2 game for the Flames, so very airtight game again. Can we find a way to tie this game up in the third period? It's been a little bit back and forth again. Let's see what happens. Third period underway. And we do tie it up. Fada scores. Let's go. I don't know if that's one of his first career playoff goals, but that's a big one. Nathan MacKinnon gives us the lead. Let's go, Nate Dogg. I haven't seen you in a bit. He's been pretty quiet as of late, I feel like. But that's a big goal to give us a 4-3 lead. Final few minutes here of Game 5. Can we lock it down? The answer is yes, we can. Justin Falk puts the nail in the coffin in the empty net. Another last-minute goal for him. And we are 1 win away from the Stanley Cup Finals after we were down 2-0, just like we were against Vancouver. I honestly wasn't expecting us to win 3 straight, but the fact that the Flames were 10-0, I kind of felt like they were due to lose some games, but not this much in a row. So Jenner from Zherdev, Falk from Cameron and Toffoli, Fada from Cameron, MacKinnon from Toffoli and Jenner, and Falk from MacKinnon and Eberle. So let's friggin' go. 3 straight victories. That's our first home win of this conference finals. But Falk with 2 goals and a +3. Great game for him. He's been really good as of late. MacKinnon on 2 points. Cameron 2 points again. Jenner and Toffoli also on 2 points. A couple guys on 1 point. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then goaltending-wise, Vasi was actually pretty bad that game. But at least he did enough that he still got the victory. Goals against is good. Save percentage needs to be better. But like I said, he's just getting back from injury. I don't really blame him fully for playing that bad. But Falk first star of the game. MacKinnon second star. And LaBarbera for them the third star. All right, so 3 straight wins. Now, can we find a way to win a third game in Calgary and close them out and get to the Stanley Cup Finals? Right now, the Eastern Conference is a 3-2 series lead for Pittsburgh. Honestly, if we get to the finals and have to play Pittsburgh, this would be an epic Stanley Cup Finals at some point. It would be kind of cool, Crosby versus McDavid, but obviously McDavid doesn't exist in this universe, so I guess it could end up being Crosby versus Cameron, but Cameron's not the McDavid of this team, I don't think, but it could be the Penguins that we have to face for the Stanley Cup if we get there, which obviously might be a complete beatdown for them because Yeah, they have some really good players at this point. I don't know who they brought in since, but I know they have obviously still like Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Fleury should be still there. Like, they definitely have the depth as well, I would assume, unless they're paying a lot of their top-end talent too much money. So let's keep the team the same. We've won 3 straight games. Can we close out Calgary and get to a Stanley Cup Finals already in 2016? That would be insane. Let's see if we could do it. We've been a good road team so far, so maybe we could continue that. First period, game 6. 1-1. I will definitely take a 1-1 game. Ryan Smith scores on the power play to open the scoring for us. Rene Bourque answers back for them. Shots are 11-11, so it's definitely an even first period when you see 1-1 after 1 with 11-11. It's too much 11s and 1s and all that stuff, but very solid first period. Obviously, good to see Ryan Smith on the board because I don't think he had scored since the last round, so I like that. I don't like seeing Rene Bourque score again because he did a lot of damage to us in those first 2 games, so hopefully he's a bit quiet going forward. But can we find a way to get that lead back in the second period? Second period. Still 1-1. Okay, pretty even game again. A lot of these games have been like going to overtime and all that, so this has definitely been one of the closest series we've had at this point, I guess. But I expected it to kind of be like that with how good these teams have been going into the postseason. So shots are 22-19 in favor of the Flames. It is a 1-1 game. Can we find a way to get a goal in this third period and give ourselves a chance to get to that Stanley Cup Finals? Third period underway. Yes, we can. Ryan Smith scores on the power play again. He is doing it all. He is the captain of this team after all. He gives us the lead 2-1, but Mikael Backlund hasn't scored in the series so far. Gives them 2 goals. I was going to say ties it up, but he just gave them another one. Of course, still down only by a goal. Can we find a way to tie this one up? Can we find a way to tie it up? No, we can't probably. Stajan makes it 4-2. And unfortunately, a bit of a bad part to the end of that third period finds us with a Game 7 situation here in the conference finals. I kind of felt like a Game 7 was going to happen, and definitely this makes sense with how close the series have been. But Ryan Smith did enough work in that game. He gets 2 goals, one from Toffoli and Cameron, the other one from Yakupov and Falk. But unfortunately for us, it's not been the best of series for Vasilevsky these last 2 games. But I think we probably will keep with him in net unless we want to go back to Ruskovich, which is a tough decision. But yeah, definitely not a lot of good plus minuses on this team. Cameron was -3, so the top line kind of got beaten up a bit. 3 stars in that game as well. Backlund the first star because he found a way to get them that win. Hiller the second star, and Stajan the third star. I would assume Mikael Backlund might be the captain of the Flames, unless they gave it to the LeBarbera guy already, but this is an interesting series. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have taken out the Tampa Bay Lightning in the conference finals, which means whoever wins Game 7 will be taking on Sid, Gino, and all those guys. Yikes. Let's make sure we're set up and ready for Game 7. Let's make sure we're ready for this. Yes, it is on home ice, so maybe that could help us a bit, but it's definitely been a back and forth series, a lot of close games and all of that. Trying to see if we want to make any adjustments. Like I said, Vasi hasn't been super good these last 2 games. He's got 860, like basically an 865 save percentage around the last 2 games. He's been pretty bad against them, but he also had 1 good game against them. Meanwhile, Ruskovich has been probably the better of the 2 goalies against the Flames so far. But is it the right call to put him in net? Probably not. I don't think there's any depth options I would want to throw in. Do we need to make any adjustments? I don't think we do. Maybe I should change something with the defensive pairings. Which defensive pairing has been bad for us so far defensively? Ooh, that top 6 pairing's kind of getting beat up a little bit of Metro and Petrie still. Let's go with Metro up. We'll move Holinka with Petrie. And that's the only adjustment we're going to make defensively. We're going to keep Vasi in net, which could be a bad idea because Ruskovich has been the better of the 2. But Vasi's due for a good game after 2 bad games. He doesn't usually have too many bad games in a row. So we're going to start him for Game 7. And we'll see if that's enough to get us to the Stanley Cup Finals to play the Penguins. If we lose this game, like I said, not a huge issue. because this team is so young and they've been able to get to a Game 7 conference finals, which is pretty impressive. So can we find a way to win this game on home ice and face the Penguins, or are we going to find a way to lose 2 in a row after we had a nice little winning streak? Game 7 underway. Can we find that first goal of the game? It's pretty important for the series, I feel like. So far, not a lot of offense between both teams. Both shots pretty even at this point. No goals so far. Penalty kill here in the first period. We killed it off. Nicely done, boys. Good little penalty kill. And a pretty low event first period. Shots only 7-6 in favor of the Flames, but as you'd expect, it's been airtight. Not a lot of goals, or no goals for that matter. And I feel like it's been like that the last 5 games at least of the series. So let's see what happens in the second period. See if we can find a way to get that first goal of the game. Can Ryan Smith build off last game? George Fata scores. Okay, Fata makes it 1-0, but Backlund answers right back 10 seconds later. Don't like that. Wilson makes it a 2-1 lead for them. That's a fourth line goal. Hayes makes it 3-1. Oh boy, Vasi. Maybe I should have started Ruskevich this game. I don't really know. But we are still in within 2. If we could get another goal late, we definitely still have a chance. Of course, Kodalik then scores after I said that. 2 fourth line goals for the Flames. And, well, it started good that period, but giving up a goal 10 seconds after you take the lead, not necessarily a great idea. And it looks like we're going to probably be knocked out here in 7 games in the conference finals. But like I said, this is a big stepping stone for this team. First ever playoff run. We're going this far in the playoffs. There's definitely a lot of good positives to take away from this playoff run. But it looks like the Flames will meet the Penguins for the Stanley Cup probably in 2016. Which, I mean, isn't terribly unrealistic because the Penguins actually got to the finals in 2016, but it obviously wasn't Calgary. So let's see what happens in this third period, see if we could find a way to maybe crawl back into this game, but I don't think we have much of a chance at this point. Third period underway, penalty kill to start the third. We killed it off, which is good, but we are still wasting too much time and not scoring enough goals. Tom Wilson scores again. That is it. Another fourth line goal for their team. So apparently their depth shows up at the best time possible. This is very reminiscent of Game 1. Kolyakovo makes it 6-1. And unfortunately, we're going to be knocked out in 7 games after it felt like maybe we had a chance to win in 6 games. But we unfortunately lose, and the Flames will go to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016. So we lost 6-1 in Game 1 and in Game 7. Not necessarily a recipe for success. But like I said, there was some really good in-between games in that series. So I'm not going to be too mad at this team. But Fata from Lottie and Folk, and then they get 6 unanswered goals. That's tough. That is tough. 1 win away from the Cup Finals and we don't get it done. But like I said, the best is yet to come with this team. So, damn, Zherdev and Russell were -4. Maybe I should have made a change on that top pairing. I was thinking about it, but I didn't end up. Oof. And yeah, Vasi was rough in that game, an .813 save percentage. So maybe I should have started Ruskevich for Game 7. But honestly, Vasi's the guy, so it made sense to start him. 3 stars in that one. Tom Wilson had 3 points. Torres had 3 points against us. And friggin' Carlo Kolyakovo as well had 2 points. So yeah, like I said, their depth showed up at the right time possible. And we ended up losing that game convincingly. Even though we had more face-off wins. Damn, man, that's tough. That is tough. But like I said, I think the Flames will end up losing anyways in the Cup Finals. As Petrie got injured in that game, so that didn't help things as our other defensive pairings had to play a lot more. Petrie got injured with a sore knee, so his series was done and season was done at that point anyways. Damn. All right, well, let's take a look at some stats to wrap up this playoff run. We'll find out who wins the Stanley Cup and the awards for the season and all that, too, since we're only like 40-something minutes into this recording. Now, I do need to feed my cat soon, but they could wait till I'm done recording this episode, so. In terms of our player stats anyways, Toffoli had a fantastic playoffs, great showing from him. Cameron was also really good. Those two did the most work offensively for our team. Aside from that, I'd like to see maybe a bit more out of guys like McKinnon and Eberle, but like I said, the depth scoring was solid, so it's not a huge issue. Guys like Ryan Smith are probably retiring in this episode now, so unfortunately, he probably won't get a chance to win a Stanley Cup as an Oiler. But like I said, the depth scoring was good. Definitely might have needed a little bit more of it, though, to beat that Flames team. And then defensively, Falk on 9 points plus 11. He was definitely our best defenseman. Russell had a rough playoffs in terms of defensive play. Shurdev was solid up until Game 7. Petrie was a -6 in 17 games and only 2 assists as a two-way. I feel like we might have to think about some trades with Jeff Petrie involved this offseason just to get Mackey into our lineup and stuff like that. But Petrie was pretty rough. And like I said, he just got injured too. But yeah, that plus-minus in the playoffs in his career, not ideal. And he doesn't really pick up a lot of points either when it comes to postseason hockey. Halinka, 2 points, not bad. Metro with the 1 goal. And then goaltending-wise, Vasi had some really good stats, but others some also really bad games in that conference finals. Ruskovich was a delight having his backup. Very good trade pickup. And like I said, I think I want him back as a backup again next year for sure at that point. All right. So the question is, who's going to win the Stanley Cup in 2016? The Flames have only lost 3 games up to this point, but it could be the Pittsburgh Penguins, which wouldn't really surprise me with how good they are. The answer to that should be shortly, and the answer to that will it be the Penguins? Yes, it will. See, I knew it. Regardless, whoever won that series would probably have lost to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins the Stanley Cup, so the Flames, unfortunately, after their good season, will lose in the finals. And Adirondack wins the AHL. All right, let's take a look at those awards and all that stuff a little bit more in depth. I do want to see who was on that Cup-winning Penguins team now, because obviously we would have faced them if we won Game 7. So Pittsburgh was looking like, oh my God. Forwards had Sidney Crosby, who was way over point per game, almost a goal and an assist a game. You had Malkin on 25 points, Justin Williams on 25 points. Yeah, they were very top 6 heavy, but former player of ours, Trevor Lewis, we had him briefly, I think, right? I thought we had him briefly. Oh, maybe we did, right? Yeah, we did, but we didn't make the playoffs, that's right. Yeah, Trevor Lewis wins the Stanley Cup as a member of the Penguins with Justin Williams, which is funny. And also Dwight King. So a lot of former LA Kings players on that team. Chris Kunitz there as well. BJ Crombeen, who was our cap whale, wasn't he? He was our cap whale last year. And he goes on to win a Stanley Cup. Shout out to BJ Crombeen. That's hilarious. That's actually great for him to win a Stanley Cup. And that's pretty much it. From a defensive standpoint, Letang, Kyle Quincy was there. Interesting. Adam McQuaid was with us too at one point, wasn't he? I feel like in the early stages of this franchise mode. Yeah, briefly. So some former Oilers winning the Cup, which is good to see for them. And then goaltending-wise, there's Marc-Andre Fleury and J.S. Giguère. All right. So the Pittsburgh Penguins get it done. Not really a surprise. I don't remember if they've won already in this franchise mode. The answer to that is I don't think so. But a lot of the realistic type of teams winning Stanley Cups, I guess, in this universe. Chicago did win the President's Trophy, but yeah, obviously it wasn't Chicago getting to the finals. Malkin won the Art Ross this year for the 2nd consecutive year. Also wins the Hart for the 2nd consecutive year. John Carlson wins his 2nd Norris in 4 years. Patrick Kane wins the Lady Byng. Vinny Trocheck won the Calder for Columbus. Shout out to Trocheck. Crosby won the Conn Smythe, not a surprise. Jonas Hiller the Vezina Trophy, and we almost beat him. Vasilevsky won the Jennings this year, so shout out to Vasi for us. Slavin won the Bill Masterton for Toronto. That's Jacob Slavin. Minnesota's coach to Jack Adams. Bergeron the Selke. Nice to see Bergeron with a Selke. Malkin with the Lindsay for the 2nd consecutive year. And Ilya Kovalchuk wins the Maurice Richard for the 2nd time in 3 seasons. From an AHL perspective, any AHL awards for our team? Let's see. Double check on this for fun. The answer to that is probably not, unfortunately. So no AHL awards. All right. So there is that. Now the question I have is the retirements. Are we going to lose Ryan Smith? And obviously, who are we going to have to re-sign this offseason? I know there's some pretty big names. I think Nathan McKinnon and all that. So we are going to have to spend a ton of money. Also, what are the draft lottery results looking like? We do have a lot of 2nd and 3rd round picks this year. Like we literally have 4 seconds and 4 thirds. So we might be able to move up if you guys want me to. But the first overall pick for the 2016 NHL draft is going to be the New York Islanders, followed by Nashville, Detroit, Colorado, and Toronto. Just in case you guys wanted to know about that. Aside from that, did we lose Ryan Smith to retirement? Or is he going to get a chance to maybe get re-signed and go for a cup with us next year? He actually didn't retire. Yeah, he didn't retire because he would have been way up there in points. But first and foremost, the best center that retires, Daniel Briere, retires in Tampa, losing in the conference finals to the Penguins. Andy McDonald, Keith Aucoin as well retires, and Jamie Lundmark. Left wing wise, Eric Hole's the best. Ruslan Fedotenko, Pascal Dupuis, Marco Sturm. Some pretty solid names. Right wing wise, Brian Gionta retires. Shane Doan retires as well. Damn, Chris Neal already retires at this point too. Oh wow, a lot of the tough guys actually. Neal, Peros, Colton Orr. Defensively, Thomas Caberlet has retired at the age of 38. Lubomir Visnovsky, Brian McCabe. Shout out to Brian McCabe. Christoph Schubert's already retired too at 34. Damn. All right. As a Stanley Cup champion too, I think, for that matter. Did he win a Stanley Cup with that roster, or was he in the AHL? He was in the AHL. Never mind. So there's all that. Goalies, the best goalie to retire this year. J.S. Jaguar retires with the Stanley Cup as the backup for Pittsburgh. It doesn't show it here, but he was technically a cup winner. And then Nick Backstrom retired in the AHL for Pittsburgh. Goddamn. All right. So yeah, we do not lose Ryan Smith. That is a very big surprise to me because he's 4 years old and he was dropping off a lot. There's a chance, though, he might not be good enough for the NHL next year, so I'm not too sure if we should probably still hold on to him or what. He does produce, so maybe. But aside from that, did we lose any coaches? The answer to that is no in the NHL and no in the AHL. In terms of scouts, Visnovsky is now a scout, and Brandon Bochinski is now a scout, which obviously is unrealistic because I'm pretty sure Brandon Bochinski is actually a mayor of a place in North Dakota. You could look that up if you want to. Aside from that, let's take a look at some stuff to wrap up the season. So first and foremost, the progress reports. Did we get any crazy growth? All right, yeah, we're getting some good growth. Obviously, there's Ryan Smith, who's probably on drop-off, actually statistical growth, but he's probably going to be retiring really soon. Like I said, I don't know if we should bring him back or not. But Nyquist, Toffoli, looks like a lot of guys on our team are growing very nicely. Some statistically, some naturally. So that's good to see. And then in the system, we are getting growth from some good prospects. Mackey's up to a 76 at 21, listed as a depth defender. So that's why I'm thinking maybe trading on from Petrie makes sense for us. So we could get Mackey into the NHL next year, because that would be kind of nice. Aside from that, a lot of other prospects are getting a ton of growth. Don't have time to go through everybody, but it looks really good. Our prospect pool is strong. Our team currently is strong. This team is definitely making the right ways. Brock McGinn's listed as a fourth liner. That's not great. Not too sure if we'll use him as a fourth liner, so he might be gone. But yeah, there is all that. Yeah, I feel like I might honestly think about trading to a mine as well at the draft, just because McClement's aged already. And I think I'd like to hold on to Ruskovich as our backup next year. So that's probably the play with that. All right, final few things we need to take a look at. Let's take a look at the draft class briefly, and then we'll look at the contract situation. But first, actually, I want to show you guys the draft board, because like I said, we have a ton of picks in this year's draft, so we can move up, but we could also trade picks if we want to. So we have our own pick, which is 27th in the first round. After that, though, 4 second rounders, including the first pick in the second round. So we could always trade away these 3 if we don't want to use them. We also do have the first pick in the third round because of the Islanders as well, who won the draft lottery. Yeah, we basically have 4 third-round picks and then a 4th and a 5th. So we do not have a 6th or a 7th-round pick, but we have an abundance of 3rds and 2nds. And already our forward depth chart is solid enough. It says it's a C. It said it was an A+ earlier, though. And a C there, and B- in goals. So I don't know if we really need too much. Like, we could easily trade away those picks for future picks, or we just draft prospects and see if we could actually find stuff. But let's show you guys this draft class again and see if there's any good potential players here. So we're drafting 27th in the first round. Is there anybody really good at that point? So we don't know anything about Graham Cutler, unfortunately. But Camden Zhao, probably a guaranteed top 6. As a top 6 defenseman, don't want that. Medium 9. It looks like some players in this first round. I know I have a lot of guys pinned, though. Bork being the one of them. Bork's probably a good one to take in the first round. But aside from that, I know we have a lot of other dudes pinned as well that have good potential. A lot of low elites and all that, so we will be able to snag up some decent prospects. How good is this Weinrich dude? If this game will actually load, please. Thank you. Doesn't look the best, to be honest, but he is a gem. Alright. Anybody else with good potential that we did not pin yet? Let's see. That's not supposed to go early. Ma's of medium elite DFDC. There's another player we could easily take. Kelvin Ma. We'll pin him. But yeah, I think we're going to just probably go off the board with a lot of our selections if we hold on to a lot of our picks. But I feel like we should probably trade some of them, but it's tough to say. Like, there's definitely some low elites and medium elites that we could pick up and use them as trade bait if we want. So there's that. All right, final thing, we got to take a look at the contract situation. And like I said, there's some big RFAs that are going to need money this offseason. So here they all are, as you can see. McKinnon's going to need a contract. Obviously, locking him up for 8 years is probably the play if he wants to, which right now he only wants a 4-year deal, which is not great. If we go to 8 years, he wants almost $9 million. 4 years, which is what he wants right now, would walk him to free agency. I don't think that's a great idea, so I'm not too sure what we do with him. Jakumov's, at least at the moment, he's still an RFA, but he's not too far out from UFA status if we do 1 year. So if we want to hold on to him for at least a couple years, I would recommend going up to like maybe 4 years and just upping this to like 2.9. Should be able to easily get that done. Then he's here till he's 28. Aside from that, Russell's a UFA. I feel like we probably could let go of guys like Chris Russell, but he's been an okay defenseman for us. Right now, he's probably going to want $5 million, my guess. $4 million. It's not bad, but we do have defensive prospects that could come in and replace him, so not too sure on that. Alinka's an RFA. Obviously, we could hold on to him still for a while. He only wants a 2-year trial run deal. I don't think that's a bad idea. Ryan Smith's a UFA. He's one of our only UFAs. He wants still 2.45. He does like this organization. Not really surprised on that. But if we will to bring him back, it would be still a little bit costly for his age, considering he's dropping off. But we could definitely give him a 1-year deal with a clause if you guys think it's a good idea. Just to have him basically maybe still retire with this organization for like 2.3 million. Aside from that, there's more RFAs like Shurdev, there's Fada. A lot of these guys are probably going to get qualified, so we could get them for lower, but a lot of our team is up for renewals and RFAs. We'll probably let go of a lot of AHLers like these type of guys, but we do need to free up some roster room for some prospects, because we do have Lamoureux and all that to sign, Lowry, stuff like that. Santiago Esposito, we probably should sign that guy just for the memes. And then goaltending-wise, we also do have Vasilevsky and Ruskovich and Tuomainen up. Like I said, Tuomainen, we could trade away his rights, because I think Ruskovich as a backup would be a very low risk, high reward type of player. Like, he's only wanting $550,000. He's been a good goalie so far, so we could easily give him a 2-year deal if we want. And then Vasilevsky is not too expensive. He would walk to free agency right away after the end of this deal, so we probably would want to sign him longer term, something like 6 years. We could give him clauses and all that, but definitely would like to get Vasi and McKinnon locked up. Jankomov's maybe for a few years. Everybody else at least could get qualified, and we could kind of deal with them a little bit, but at least a lot of our team is still RFAs at this point. Once they become UFAs, that's going to be the tougher thing for sure. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to, I guess, technically the 2016 NHL Draft. We'll see what we can snag up and see if we hold on to all of our selections or not, but I've been very impressed with this team's performance so far. Great first playoff run. Now we just need to look to add maybe some more prospects for the future, just in case we start to lose people. But I think our team definitely is due for another good run again next season if we continue getting good growth like this. So just think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.